All right, we got the player count gamble. Why matchmaking always sucks. Cold take from the other Frost. Okay, so let me see what's going on.
You think the worst thing about working on a video game is that sometimes you run into a little problem. But really, it's more like you're working on problems and sometimes you run into a little video game. And the worst problems by far are you. Yeah, you cutie, look at you. How do we get you to play this game? Stay playing this game. Recommend this game to other people and make content for this game in order to keep it relevant and funded for all time.
Damn, it gets dark within the first 30 seconds of the video. I love it.
The puzzle is people. People are the puzzle video game executives are trying to solve for that I presented in the last video. I debated, rebutted, and convincingly convinced myself that many of them are shooting for hero shooters or some kind of live service role-based player.
Role-based, team-based, PvP,
versus player experiences. Those have, by design, some of the widest appeal to potentially market themselves and sustain themselves so they can print money into the heat death of the universe.
Yeah.
If you can attract enough players to get it running, that's one big fat if, and I've got the math to show for it. It's a given that games designed to be multiplayer need, by definition, multiple players. You can't play chess alone. I mean, you could, but it'd be awfully sad like that one fella in the Pixar short.
Yeah.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you're not in the mood to play with yourself. In which case, chess needs at least 2 people to play. A 5 versus 5 hero shooter needs at least 10 people to play.
Yeah.
Or does it?
That's a big gamble right there.
If one of those 10 players leaves, then you have to replace them quickly. Otherwise, the others are going to get frustrated because they can't play, and then they'll abandon your game. Then you need to find 10 more people. But you're not going to have one person sitting around waiting for someone to leave to fill a queue. That just doesn't happen. What if you have 10 players, but one of them's in America, and the other's in Australia, where their pingery-doo is too high to maintain a stable connection? So
their pingery-doo?
They leave. What if you have 10 players, the connection's fine, but the skill levels are drastically different, and the poor little noob...
Look at this, bro. 600 kills. Everyone else average. This guy, 0 kills. All the deaths.
Gets tired of being stomped, or the veteran player gets bored of playing with their prey. What if nobody wants to play support?
Oh yeah, the Holy Trinity. Tank, healer, DPS. Nobody wants to play healer. Not very many people want to play tank. Everyone just wants to play DPS. Yep.
Game development. Like I said, you make problems and sometimes a game pops up. Cheers. You're going to need a bigger boat. And way more than 10 players to hit what's known as critical mass. That's the lowest number of players needed for a multiplayer game to sustain itself and not fall to pieces as soon as one person needs a potty break. All those features being live service, multiplayer versus play.
Isn't this... I think I heard a number recently. Like if you're making a game, like a multiplayer game, like you only need like 10,000 players to play like concurrently to like constantly be playing your game. Like your unique players could be like really big, but you only need like 10,000 people playing at any given time. I think that's, I don't know where I heard that number from. I heard that recently. I don't recall where.
Player and role-based characters are now working against you, raising the critical mass, and if a game can't get over it, then it may be dead on arrival. And we can kind of set up a little formula to get a rough estimate about whether or not a game has enough daily active players to sustain itself based on its own design parameters. You simply need to plug in base players needed, player availability, connectivity, required roles, skill. There's more factors, but we'll...
Oh yeah, this is already like... This is already huge. This is just like the basics.
Leave it there for now. First, the base. A 5v5 game needs at least 10 people playing to create a match. Deja vu. But if a match lasts for 20 minutes, then you can't create a new match until 10 different players are ready to go. So you multiply the base by the time and you get 200. Okay, we went from 10 to now 200 players needed daily, so that this whole thing doesn't fall apart as soon as we turn it on. But remember, boss, you were the one insisting that it be role-based. I'll use MOBAs as an example of a genre that needs to fill 5
Oh, we're gonna use MOBAs. Oh shit. League of Legends. You need, what is it? Like a top, a mid, a jungle, and what is it? What is it called? Like an ADC and a support. Okay.
distinct roles: support, carry, mid, jungle, solo. You now have to multiply that 200 by the 5 roles, and you end up with at least 1,000 players needed.
Oh, it's
you
getting
might think
bigger.
that's not a problem, Mr. CEO, but that's per server. What devs do to avoid connectivity issues is put players that are close together in a common server. We'll say this game has at least 3 it needs to keep at critical mass. The Americas, Europe, Asia. So 3 times 1,000 is 3,000.
Oh shit.
And because you wanted a competitive game, Mr. CEO, we do need to take skill into account, otherwise people are going to leave out of boredom, shame, or frustration.
Is this Concord? I don't know what. I don't think this is Concord. Wait, is it? No, wait. It is. It is Concord. I was looking at all the characters and I'm like, wait a sec. I recognize this. And then I look up here. It's like, oh shit, it is fucking Concord.
Otherwise people are going to leave out of boredom, shame, or frustration. We'll use really bare bones matchmaking that'll group players into
Not so good, average, get a job.
3 tiers: not so good, average, really good. 3 times 3,000 is 9,000 players.
Oh,
Boy,
shit.
that sure is a lot more than the original 10 players we started with.
Yeah.
Is it over, you ask?
Nope.
Depends. How many game modes do you want? Let's say 2. Ranked for the sweaties and unranked for the sexies with nothing to prove.
Oh shit.
Now at a critical mass of 18,000 daily players, and I'm being generous. This model here assumes the barest of minimums. Multiplayer games tend to have more than 2 modes, more than 3 servers worldwide, more tiers for matchmaking, and humans that haven't evolved past the need for sleep. Let's lock in for a second, get closer to a realistic number. You got 10 players at base times 20 minutes of playtime. Assuming the average player plays for 4 hours a day, then you gotta cycle in a whole new set of players 6 times in a 24-hour period. 5 roles still, at least 5 servers across North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and OCE.
Yep.
We can keep it at 2 game modes, ranked and unranked. You want more separation among your skilled players if you have any intention of maintaining.
What is this, Counter-Strike? Oh my god. There's so many ranks, dude. Holy shit.
Competitive scene, which you do. 5 is a little better. And now we have 10 times 20 times 6 times 5 times 5 times 2 times 5 for 300,000 daily players minimum for the matchmaking system to actually work as intended.
Damn.
And if you haven't played one,
oh god. 300,000. Oh damn, what did I say? I only said 10,000. Jesus, I was like way off, dude. Holy. I am beginning to understand how much of a gamble it is and why the FPS, the competitive shooting genre is so hamstrung into coming up with new just games. I mean, what we got, like Marvel Rivals that just came out, and then we got, what is it, like we got Deadlock, but that was like a little beta thing that happened. And who's making Deadlock? Valve. They also made CS. Okay, great.
one of these games, trust me, matchmaking is one of the most incessant, ever-present complaints from the live service PvP.
Oh, yeah. Bro, the matchmaking is working with you. The matchmaking is working against you. I've seen every argument, every like type of thread, skill-based matchmaking, engagement optimized matchmaking, and all the different variations in between. It's hilarious.
Crowd. 3 things are certain in life, my friend: death, taxes, and people yelling at developers to fix the matchmaking. Sometimes, though, as you can see, it's a player count problem. And this model's still on the generous side because it assumes a person's playing every day of the month.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about crossplay, haven't even begun to account for what the crest number of players needs to be in order to maintain this trough during the downtimes. All this stuff is what pushes the critical.
Bro, anytime you put up Concord gameplay, I can't help but laugh. because I never seen like actual gameplay. Like job completed, Trash Master. Job completed. Some abilities. God, this HUD is just bad. Like the color. What is this? Your health? It's so hard to read. Okay, you got like a weapon. That's fine. Okay, you can see who's like alive and dead and whatnot. Okay.
Mass number into the millions. Out of all the video games, this attempt to maximize appeal creates a massive player count requirement that ends up biting MOBAs and hero shooters in the ass. If you'd like to see the math applied in a different direction or get a second opinion, I'll include an article I've been holding on to for a few years now called Why Good Matchmaking Requires Enormous Player Counts.
Ooh, I might want to go read that. Ooh.
Written by the developer of Awesome Knots, where they talk about how their average player count of 1,000 isn't all that much, and they need something closer to about 5 million monthly players for their MOBA to work as intended.
Jesus. It's almost as if there's probably not enough people playing video games at that point.
And the other burning question then is, why would anyone want to spend millions of dollars on a game and years of development just for it to flop in the end because you can't get enough players for it to work?
Because, again, it's a gamble. I mean, if you lose, like many games have done, like Concord, then it is a massive loss. But if you win, and you can hang around and still keep winning, it's a game changer. What's being played right now? Counter-Strike, 1 million. Counter-Strike has been hanging on to 1 million for God knows how long. Dota 2, massive. Dota has been hanging on for God knows how long. Marvel Rivals, the new kid on the block. Ooh, actual player count going down. Ooh. We'll see what happens with Marvel Rivals. Ooh, look at PoE. PUBG. How is PUBG still up here? Why is Banana still fucking here? God damn it. The fucking crypto NFT bros are still clinging to the fact if they click enough banana, they're going to get rich in Valve stickers. That's not happening. But I mean, just on this basis alone, like what else we got? Power Banana, Team Fortress. How is Team Fortress still popping? Baldur's Gate, COD on Steam. What else? Apex. Oof. Apex is dying. I was wondering what was happening to Apex. Ooh, it's pretty much in the dumpster. It's getting down there. Ooh, Warframe's still hanging on. About like 50, 60K. That's actually not bad. Good for Warframe. Helldivers, Elden Ring. Dang, Elden Ring's still hanging on at like 50K? Huh. I dig it. But honestly, if you're making like a competitive shooter, you don't want to be down here at all. You essentially want to be in like the top 5. Is really where you want to be. I mean, and this is just by Steam. You have the entirety of PlayStation, the entirety of Xbox, not so much the Switch. But I mean, and that's just in America. I mean, you have like other things to consider, like the other countries and whatnot. So
that's a much smaller math problem, because if you do get, say, 1 million monthly players and the average purchase is $2, then you make $2 million a month, 24 million annually. That's the gamble when it comes to MOBAs and hero shooters.
And then seemingly only one game is doing that, Counter-Strike. Everyone else, they're just losers.
Most of them do die. But if they can hit critical mass, it's like creating a new element.
Yeah.
And more importantly,
oh yeah, you can't forget about good old Fortnite. That thing was a cultural boom.
Person that called the shots gets to be called Tony Stark. Now let's look at Concord's player count. 600.
Oh my god, was this just a glorified it's time to shit on Concord video?
197 players was the all-time peak just on Steam. 25,000 units were sold in totality.
Oh, dang.
If I may be pedantic and a little graphic, Concord wasn't a live service game that died. It was stillborn. What a great closing line.
It was stillborn. It was born dead. Oh my god. It wasn't even born. Ugh. Yeah.
That would have been, but I don't want to risk leaving this as an anti-live service advert and such a sour mood. I like live service.
I mean, understandable. It's like there's some live service games where people are like okay with it. Some other live service games, people are just like not in the mood for it. Like Warframe, I think is a great example of like live service done right. It's awesome. Some people would say Counter-Strike or Valorant are also good, but I mean, with Counter-Strike, you got the whole like skin gambling thing. You got like a bunch of other like live service games. What else? You got like Path of Exile, you got Diablo. Um, I mean, live service is live service. Like every live service game does the same thing in that it takes a core gameplay loop and breaks it down to autistic, granular levels and makes you do everything that 10 years ago would have taken you like 5 minutes or an hour. But to gain a level in like a live service game or any sort of like player power, it takes you like upwards of like 10 times the amount of time to, okay, first you have to do like these 20 different missions to just be able to get a gun part, and then you have to get the materials for the gun part, and then once you have all the materials, you start the timer, and then the gun part is made, and then you have to get the other gun part, and it's like, oh my god, it is nauseating. And every live service game does this. The competitive ones, I mean, no one's really like the competitive shooting genre of live service. Like no one's really like the things that people complain about for those types of games is, again, the player count. A bigger player count. It's easier to matchmake and whatnot. But it's the ongoing development. It's the bugs. It's the content. It's the anti-cheat system. It's many different bullet points. Like PvE live service versus PvP live service.
Service overall. I think the pros outweigh the cons, and it's only getting better. But the insistence that this is the only way to make video games.
Sony says it should have gotten more feedback before launching Concord. I mean, well, they did, but they simply ignored it. So poo-poo on you, Sony. But it isn't done with live service games despite a certain amount of risk. I think probably about when the first time like Concord was released, Sony probably had like, was it like somewhere between like 10 and 15 other live service games that they were about to roll out, but since Concord was the first one that stepped in dog shit, they saw what happened to it and they decided to put a pause on all the other live service games that they were going to release. Rightfully so. There are just simply not enough players to be playing every single solitary Sony exclusive live service game, let alone another live service game to be tossed into the junk pile that is live service, period.
Is a con, and whoever's pushing it should end up as a con, in a prison, legally banned from climbing the corporate ladder any higher than a gas station manager. And I also know indie developers and AA studios like...
Yep, what is this? Deadlock. The third-person shooter, and it's got mixed like MOBA mechanics in here with like gear and whatnot and lanes.
To make multiplayer games as well. All I ask is that you check your parameters. Maybe you don't need so many roles or as strict of roles. Deadlock, while a MOBA is lowering their critical mass burden by choosing to design flexible characters. Maybe make your game 3v3 instead of 5v5 to have a base of 6 instead of 10. Maybe PvE instead of PvP like Helldivers 2. Consider some bots. Look at Fortnite. Even though a match needs 100 players.
Goku versus like, what is it, Attack on Titan?
To start, I'm pretty sure most of those are bots. There's many ways to play around with it. Game development's always a gamble, but at least try to stack the odds in your favor.
Dang. I mean, matchmaking, the player count. I mean, you got to keep your players happy. You have to keep the middle chunk. You know, you don't necessarily need to keep the new guys in, because it's a gamble on whether or not the new guys are even going to stay. And you don't really need to worry about the hardcore people like going, because they're hardcore, they like your game. It's the big old middle chunk, the 50th percentile. Cater to those guys, and you'll probably have some success. So, yeah. But I mean, again, it's all under the guise of live service. You know, we'll see what happens in the future when more live service games come out, and when more live service games come out, other ones die. It just happens. You know, every live service game can't be a winner. For there to be winners, there has to be losers. So, yeah, overall, cool video. I'm into it. Off by almost 1 million. No big deal. Yeah. I'm a fan now, but yeah, keep them up, man. I want to see more. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.